Our good friend Matt Braun from TwinsDaily.com is back better than ever and ready to talk Twins offseason on today's episode of Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to our episode of Locked On Twins. It's Wednesday, October 12th. I'm your gracious host, Nash Walker, here with my friend and analyst at TwinsDaily.com, Mr. Matt Braun. We want to thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Matt, live from Seattle, and he's still hurting from the Mariners' blown loss yesterday. What was that like? Matt, what was that like?
Dude,
What was that like?
First and foremost, why is that gotta be the first thing you bring up, man? We were feeling good, and you got to bring that. It's been an interesting experience. Obviously, everyone knows it's been 21 years since this team has finally been in the playoffs, and they sweep Toronto, which I think shocked a lot of people. I didn't. This is I think you tend to look at these kind of teams and you can be like, oh, it's cute. It's a story. It's like something we kind of look back at and we're like, well, but they're not going to do anything. I think this is actually a fundamentally solid team with a legitimate ace, Luis Castillo, with what I thought was a dominant bullpen, at least in a few guys like Munoz and usually Sewald. But they're a good team. Yesterday sucked, I'll be honest. I was listening to the radio call at work, drove home and saw that last inning, and I'm just like, what's even the point of this game, man? I don't why. It's just pain and suffering.
So Seattle's good. The Twins were not in 2022 overall. Last year, what was this time last year? Matt and I sat here and I was like, Matt, what do you think the Twins should do? Like, they're coming off a season where they lost 89 games. That was in 2021. They got Byron Buxton as an impending free agent. After this year, he's got 1 year left on his deal. Should they just blow this thing up? Like, should they trade Buxton, not try to get better? Like, really hone in on the farm system, kind of rebuild and go through a lull period. And I mean, at that time, I think there was serious conversation about what they should do. And I want to start that this offseason because I still think there's a lot of possibilities here for the Twins. Like, they could get younger. They could trade away. Like, they could trade away Malley and Gray. Like, they could do that, and get prospects. They could trade their impending free agents and go into not a rebuild, but maybe that retool we expected, some of us expected last year. What's your sense on that?
Right. Well, this is, I think the word I keep coming up with when I think of the Twins roster right now is malleable. There's certainly not a whole lot of players, if even one, if you want to be real honest, that you say, oh, this is an honest to God lock and load future of the team. Because, I've come on here and I've said, you can deal Buxton. I don't care. And I'm still somewhat in that camp. He still played the second most games in his career, but I mean, 19 games in the second half or whatever it was. I mean, those questions still remain. So yeah, they could do anything. Really, I see them trying to take that step forward. I think this, if I were to comp this team, I see this a lot like how the 2018 Twins played out. If you remember, that was still, I think a lot of people thought it was a talented enough team. Certainly they added on a 2017 that was already a 2017 team, excuse me, that was already playoff capable. But then for whatever reason, Lance Lynn being a turd, Logan Morrison being a turd, whatever else, I try to forget that season happened. But what do they do in that offseason? They sign Nelson Cruz, they sign Marwin Gonzalez. They make deals, they go forward, and they have the best season like we've ever seen in 50 years. So I think they're a lot along in that route where they're just going to say, look, we got a little unlucky with the injuries. It happens. Don't think it's going to happen 2 years in a row. We got a lot of guys still under contract. There's going to be a lot of moves made. Absolutely. And we're already seeing some of those, but I think it's going to be towards competing next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think they took that step with not only Gray, but with Malley as well. Like, those are the two that are, if they were not on the roster, I would be like, okay, I feel like maybe they will not try to do that. But Matt, it matters what they do, but it also matters who's doing it. Do you believe today in Derek Falvey and Thad Levine in the Twins front office to make the right moves this offseason and moving forward after the vote of confidence after this season?
I think you're having far too much fun with this little thing at the bottom here. I saw that smile
I love it.
afterwards. I
I
saw
love
your
it.
eyes like light up. You're like, man, this is whoo, MLB Network now, baby.
Yes.
Anyways, oh yeah, there's a question. I do believe in the front office still. I'm very much uh, it they haven't done everything perfectly, obviously, and I think a lot of people can agree with that. There's a lot of things, especially they're still saying the pitching end of things, where it's been a lot of years now, and we're starting to really ask those questions. Like, okay, when is this pitching pipeline going to be ready? It was supposed to be ready last year, supposed to be ready this year, and no one really stepped up. Still, I still think they have a good glut of talent there. Excuse me, but no one has really taken that step forward except Joe Ryan, who is the guy they got from somewhere else. Granted, that's still a move. That's still a mark on the front office that they can identify that kind of player. And in fact, if you ask me, they should be doing those kind of moves more often. Um, but as a whole, I'm still left very much disappointed in the homegrown talent aspect of it because Miranda, Duran, that's really been it recently. I mean, a lot of the core guys, you're still looking at Terry Ryan, hell, even Bill Smith guys. If you want to look at Max Kepler and the I'm sorry, I had to mention him, but that it is what it is. Those were Jorge Polanco, Max Kepler. Those were 2 regimes ago, and they're still around, and that's still the core.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of, I mean, it is tough to evaluate because Larnach, Kirilloff, Lewis, Ober, so many of their guys have been hurt,
Mhm.
multiple seasons in a row. I think I'm with you for one more year. Like, I think
Right.
if 2023, and that's my next question for you, what if 2023 goes poorly? Because for me, they had benefit of the doubt after last year for me because they had won back-to-back division titles. You mentioned 19 was such a great year, and I think they had something to do with that, obviously.
Mhm.
So I gave them the benefit of the doubt after last year, but now 2 years in a row, now it's like, okay, that benefit of the doubt is gone and it's time to perform. So what if 2023 goes poorly, Matt?
Well, I think it will depend on the why it goes poorly. If it's straight up, you acquired players who were poor fits, you made unwise decisions, which they have done at times. I'm still can't believe we all had to watch Dylan Bundy for 29 starts, but we did,
For real.
and Chris Archer for whatever it was. I don't even want to think about that kind of stuff. But if it's like specific transactional philosophical things, and you can just be like, well, they just don't have it, or they're not actually thinking the way they should be thinking, then yeah, I think you have to start asking those questions. I think you have to start firing some people. If it's another year like this, I know a lot of people are going to be annoyed at it, but if it's another year like this last year where it was really just plain injury luck in a lot of ways, I don't know how much you can blame that. I think if you look at the IL team, you first of all, you could build an entire team of that IL. But if you move those into the lineup, if you move those and you fit and you start fitting, Alex Kirilloff where he's supposed to go, Trevor Larnach where he's supposed to go, fully healthy and hitting, I still think this is the quality of team that we expected them to be. Which is why I'm still hesitant. I'm just like, man, everyone got seriously. Have you looked at that IL list?
Yeah.
Holy crap, man, it
Yeah.
is brutal.
It was insane. Rocco Baldelli, Carlos Correa, opening day right fielder, all coming up with Matt after this word from Roan. The dress shirt was made for a radical reinvention, and Roan stepped up to the challenge. Roan's commuter shirt is the most comfortable, breathable shirt you'll ever find. It is so great. This shirt is so comfortable. It's odor free with Gold Fusion anti odor technology. You'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Roan is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. Looking good is easy. It's time to feel confident with a wrinkle-free shirt without the hassle. With Roan's wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the shirt. It's that easy. The commuter shirt can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to roan.com/locked on and use promo code locked on to save 20% on your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to Roan. That's RHONE.com/locked on and use code locked on. It's time to find your corner office comfort. Upgrade your closet with Roan and use locked on to save 20% at www.roan.com. Matt, welcome back. How was it over there?
Bring me back. There we are. Man, I
Welcome
was
back.
hiding for so long.
I want to ask you, Matt, because we know self imposed payroll for the Twins, of course, and we know any move they make, any significant move they make on the books also alters how they can operate not only that offseason, but in future off seasons. We've seen them avoid risk, especially this front office with long-term deals. I will ask you, if you're the Minnesota Twins and Jim Pohlad said, we'll do it. We'll sign Carlos Correa for $300 million, but that doesn't mean I'm going to run up the payroll to 170, 180 million. Like, we're going to stay within where we've been, which is 140. Hopefully we're up to 150 in 2023. Would you sign Carlos Correa for 10 years and 300 million?
Only that? Yeah, sure. Why not? He's like 27. Did he just turn 28, man? He's still like the most ridiculously young, like legitimately Alex Rodriguez 2.0, but just like a little bit worse. I mean, yeah, you shell that out for that guy. I don't have to think about the shortstop position offensively and defensively for 10 years. Yeah, I signed that. And I know then there are okay, well, that's going to limit what you can do in starting pitching. Well, I don't really care. You really are talking about a maybe once in a generation type of, dual threat shortstop. I can't really think of anyone else who can keep up with him on both levels, or both sides of the ball, excuse me, like he can. So yeah, I give him that.
Interesting. I'm surprised kind of that you said that. I mean, I'm surprised because you're usually like,
Surprise! Good players. Is that a
yeah,
hot
good
take?
players, bringing in good players, 300 million.
Yeah.
But you are usually like, I know you understand their process of
Mhm.
like limiting, but I agree that I think they play at the top of the market, and then I understand like trying to find bargains, but like they've
Mhm.
tried to find bargains without shopping at the top of the market. And they did get Correa, but it was, ended up being a 1-year deal. Carlos Rodón, I think, is a clear fit for this team, Matt, and he was last offseason as well. Would he be somebody, and I know you're interested in good players, but there's shoulder questions, there's health questions with him too. Would he be somebody you would hope the Twins would invest like a lot of years and money into?
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to go back to my philosophy of sign good players, and I'm going to say yes. For a few now, the funny thing is, if you were to remember, and literally no one else remembers except for me, but that was last off season. I know there were a lot of conversations about Rodon, and I was fully hands off. I'm like, I don't want to touch this guy.
Yep.
Nope, don't want to be anywhere near him. That shoulder, man, that just scared me. When the White Sox didn't even give him the qualifying offer, I'm like, that scares me. Now, what I failed to realize were that the White Sox are run by idiots. So. And the Giants are run by very smart people. So when they signed him to that contract, and he just had arguably a top 5 to 3 Cy Young worthy season in the NL, that changes the perspective for me a lot. I think it does. And so I say yes, not just because he gives you that upside, but because I think even that injury risk a little bit helps the Twins in that favor. That's it. Because if you're the Mets, right, and you're looking, you want your guy who's like stud ace. You want your Garrett Cole type, where it's just like he's durable and he's got the stuff. And those are going to be the guys they're going after. So they're gonna ignore Rodon because they're gonna see that and they're like, well, we're just gonna spend the extra money on the other guy. Twins
Right.
can't really afford to do that. So yeah, this guy's gonna have this little deficiency, and yeah, the shoulder flares up and he's done for the season. It is what it is. But for the Twins in the position they are in, that's the risk they have to take. It simply is until we start to see them step up that game where it is the 180, 200 plus payroll. I don't think we're going to see unless, except for the hyperinflation in 2030 or whenever that's going to be. Those are the kind of players they got to sign.
He went hard at NC State. They just ran him into the ground, and they kind of do that to their starters. I think that's their
Mhm.
reputation. But I also think like because he was so hurt early in his career, he has less innings on his arm as a big leaguer, and I think you're gonna get like at least two more, hopefully 160, 170 inning seasons. I don't know beyond that. Like he's into his 30s, but I would hope you would get at least two of those ace level seasons, and that's what you sign up for. If you sign a guy for a 5-year deal, you're expecting to get two repeat seasons of what he just did, and then we'll figure it out later on. That's the price of admission. Matt, is
Mhm.
Rocco Baldelli the right manager for the 2023 Twins?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Next question.
Oh,
Oh no,
boom.
okay, we can talk about it. We can talk about it, I guess, because that's the whole point of this. Yeah, he is. I don't really didn't have many specific quandaries, any real problems with how he handles the team, how he handles lineups, how he handles pitching staff, and even from because I know a lot of criticism is on how potentially aloof he can come off as. He even got started to get spicy at the end of the season. He got
Yeah.
ejected a few times, started yelling at people. I think he's starting to get crusty in his old age. You do like to see that. But from a Okay, so from a purely decision-making standpoint, like in-game baseball strategy and even like pre-game baseball strategy, when you set the lineups, when you set who's available, I think he is a great conduit and a great connection with the front office. And I know some people might interpret that as being the mouthpiece of the front office. I think it's a bit different. I think it is a connection. It's a relationship. It's a conversation, and you have those people having those conversations, and they have such a great dialogue with each other, which I think the Twins front office and Rocco does have, which is I think in something people don't really think about because they have that. Um, I think it would be difficult to slice him off and try and put someone else in there. Like I said, I think just a lot of it came down to luck. I don't care about pulling guys early. That's what you do. It's the year of our Lord 2022 in baseball. If you're not Jacob DeGrom level, sorry, it's 6 innings or get out of there. So yeah, I'm fully on board. I like him.
Weaknesses on the roster, trade candidates, and more with Matt after this word from Built Bar. Built Bars are healthy, Built Bars are delicious, and it's time to get your hands on Built Bar Puffs. If you haven't tried them, you're depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. And guess what? There's a new flavor, delicious, indulgent cookie dough covered in chocolate. That's right. Built has done it again. What's great about Built is that all of their bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. You're going to love the new cookie dough chunk puff. Whether you need a snack for your workout, a late night treat, or just need to grab a quick bite, Built is the perfect protein bar, and they taste better than a candy bar. Ditch the calories, fat, and sugar. Grab yourself a protein bar. Go to built.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON15 and get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON15 at built.com. Matt, welcome back. To you, what is the biggest weakness on the Minnesota Twins roster going into the offseason?
That's a good question. I think this is going to be a bit of a different answer, and it's going to be hard, not hard to explain. It's going to be fun to explain, actually. I think their biggest weakness is they have a lot of repetition amongst specifically their position players. I think you could look at how many left-handed hitting outfielders they have, and you can say, man, I mean, it's like 6 of them. And even with Jake Cave gone now, I mean, it's just someone from that group's got to be gone, whether it's Gordon, whether it's Larnick, whether it's Kepler, who everyone wants, hanged and tried for treason and murder and arsony. And, Grand Theft Auto probably is in there somewhere. I don't know. Wallner coming up. I mean, you just got so many of these guys. I think you have to start looking around and saying, well, you can't fit all these people, and try and maybe pull a raise like they always like to do. Like when they traded Austin Meadows, to say you're a good player, but you're a repeat, you're expendable in that way. And I don't know if the Twins have shown that level of ruthlessness, which is why I'm not sure if they're going to do it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I think that's going to be a big issue. Another one is this, and there's some overlap in there. Is this sort of positionless, but in a bad way type of player
Yeah.
that they've grown to have, where you can say, well, oh, Nick Gordon's a utility. I'm going to really pick on Nick Gordon. I like him, for the record. I'm using him as like my foible here. Where you look at Nick Gordon, you're like, he's a utility guy, and it's like he can't really play second base, so not really. Or Luis Arraez, a utility guy, and it's like I'd rather burn my eyes than watch him play third base again. So you have all these guys where, yeah, they technically can, but when you put them in at a position that you're not really comfortable in, that's when they start making errors, and that's when they start mishandling balls that suddenly are costing you games. And it's not as easy as you just flick a switch and now a guy can play second base. But it really is a style of player I'd like to see them target more, where they can actually play these positions, and they can actually, more like Marwin Gonzalez, who was able to at least hold his own, if not play exceedingly well at outfield, at second base, third base. Hell, I even think he played shortstop, although I wouldn't recommend doing that. So I think those two things on the offensive side of the ball are their main problems.
So you mentioned Kepler. Gio Urshela under contract for one more year. To you, who is most likely to be traded this offseason? Is it one of those two? Is it both? Is it somebody else?
That's a good question. I would probably say Kepler. I think Depending, I think we're a little bit because we always see the conversations focused on Kepler, we tend to think that, oh, he's going to be the one gone. But I'm not
Yeah,
even sure if it's the front office, if they're even along those lines, or they think something else. But at least from my perspective, I look at, all right, he had that 1 year where he hit, but everything else has been about a 90 WRC plus. When a guy shows you who he is, you don't hold on to that one thing he did a long time ago.
right.
He is what he is at this point, but he also can play an excellent right field. And I think that's what keeps him around. That's what gives him value, especially in target field, which can be a little bit weird out in right field. So I think he goes, if only because of people of potentially just being sick of not him as a person, but his style of play. And I do
Yeah.
think he has value. And I think another team they will and they have historically looked at him and said, no, that's a solid ball player under. I think he may only have like 1 year left.
Yeah.
I don't remember now. Only 1 year.
1 year
Man,
and then some options. He's got some options.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was like, God,
Yeah.
they signed those contracts like yesterday. There's
Yeah.
no way they're almost over. So I say Kepler, and then Gio. I do like. I think he's been probably the most surprising in a good way
Yep.
ball player for the 2022 Twins. You want to keep him at third base? I'm fine with that. You want to get rid of him and even maybe sign or trade for someone else? I'm fine with that. You want to make Brooks Lee the opening day third baseman? I'm fine with that. I
I would
honestly
love that, Matt. I would love
I
that.
that'd be some Ray shit. I would love that
Yeah.
so hard. I would love that so hard. Maybe that's our next conversation. I don't know.
You mentioned Luis Arraez, positionless, and he's got 3 more years of team control. Is he somebody you would still look to extend this offseason after winning the batting title?
Ooh, extend him.
He's
I don't
25.
know.
He's got 3 more years on his contract. That's arbitration. He's probably going to go 5, 8, 11 in ARB. So you're
Mhm.
looking at like a 3-year, $23 million deal at this point.
Maybe. Here's the thing, and this is what I'm really stuck on with the rise, is because I want to like the guy. I mean, considering he was a minor leaguer when I first started as a minor league writer, so I consider all these players my children of sorts, and I consider him. I was there for his first hit in Seattle. I was there for his first start the next day. I love him. But you have to be realistic sometimes, and you have to say, look, he really didn't hit at all in the second half. And yeah, he
Yeah.
was injured. So maybe that influenced it as well. But his style of play makes his margin of error just super thin, even more so than any other player. So if he's not hitting those line drives and they're not finding gaps, that's what we're going to see. We're going to see the batting average drop. We're going to see the OBP, which really fell off,
Yeah.
is going to fall down. And it's still, I think, in question whether or not he can tap into that next level of power, that level of pull power, the occasional home run that can buoy him and keep him above this sort of like Kevin Newman style of player. He's obviously better than Kevin Newman, but that kind of like literally no power, empty batting average kind of player. I don't think he's that. I think he's somewhere in the middle, maybe this 130-ish WRC plus. But then again, you have to consider, well, he's a pretty much a pure first baseman at that point. So 130 WRC plus as a third baseman, that's only really like a 3 WAR player. I'm sorry, you want to be like really heartless about it. That's not incredibly valuable. That's not so valuable that if his name comes up when talking about, say, a Zach Gallen you want to trade for, that you immediately hesitate and you say no. But it's just I would more likely trade him than extend him, I guess is what I would say there.
We're gonna have Matt back on again before free agency commences. If he'll come back on, we're gonna have him
I
back
don't
on,
know, man. I don't know.
and we'll go over like the free agent class, your favorites in the class, some
Mhm.
trade targets you like for the Twins this offseason, because I agree with you. I think they're gonna try to win. I think they're gonna try to really improve this club, and I hope they do really try to improve this club this offseason going into 2023. Matt, as always, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thanks for supporting us and Matt. You can go check out his work at twinsdaily.com. And Matt, let them know your handle because we don't have it on the screen today.
Oh yeah, it's oh god, do I even remember? I believe it is at Matthew B_twins, because that was the only thing that was really available when I made that account. So
There you go. Follow him up on Twitter. Check out his stuff and go Twins. And guess what? Go Mariners. Thanks,
go
Matt.
Mariners! Please don't blow it.